Hello and welcome back to the Double Radio Gamescast. As always, I'm your host Ryan. Today I'm joined by my lovely cohort of Star Wars fans, Alex,
Hi.
Wyatt,
Unfortunately, I'm a
and
Star
Brett.
Wars fan.
Very cool.
It's episode number 109. This is the May the 4th episode. May the 4th be with you. Haha, funny Star Wars time. We're going to do some funny Star Wars things because that's the theme. That's the week.
Yep.
Great. Understood.
I have Yoda's
Off
understudy
to a
right
great
here.
start. You're killing
Yep.
it, Ryan.
Well, this is, for anyone on audio, this will be a heavily visual episode. At least
We are
for a
sorry,
portion.
but only a
We're
little bit.
sorry. Check the YouTube or the Twitch and you can find it there.
Audio listeners love you, not that much.
Double Radio Gamescast. Wow. Alex, just nice job. So, we did a video game fantasy league last year. And everyone else, aside from me, was truly horrible at it. Just truly awful, terrible job all around. Which means I was able to dictate that everyone must now create their fan fiction as to how Palpatine rose again for Rise of Skywalker, with some little twists thrown in. And of course, because I'm a masochist, I did it myself too. So,
Of course.
we're going to go ahead and get started with that, get it out of the way, and then we're just going to talk some Star Wars stuff for a little while and have a fun day. You know, it's the lax episode. We do what we want,
Imagine
and
that.
we're not beholden to anyone.
We're going to talk about Star Wars, and we're going to have a good time
Hopefully,
rather than just get angry
Star Wars
at each other.
podcast.
I don't think. I hope my part isn't controversial. I don't think it can be, but we'll see.
Me too, Alex. I'm right there with you.
Without further ado, just to set a level of expectation as to what these presentations are, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And for your context here, I don't remember the order that I put these slides in. I don't know what the story is here. I'm going to come up with it as I was going along. I made all of these in a game called Such Art. And the way that I formulated this story was based on the commissions that I got in that game. That's where the art goes. It follows the whims of the people paying money to see it. So we begin with the Death Star. Obviously the Death Star 1 exploding, but what's that? There's an escape pod on the Death Star. And as we all know, Palpatine was not on the original Death Star, right? It wasn't a thing. But guess what? He actually was. He was on the Death Star, and then he landed in his escape pod on a primitive planet and made friends with a husky man. That's the progression that has happened here. And then he looks up the moon, reminiscing of the old days of destroying planets with his big starship. Now, in the past. But oh no, what comes next? Evil Rey. Evil Rey is not actually a figment of Rey's imagination. Never mind, this is all happening many years before Rey was probably even born. This Evil Rey is Rey's mother, right? So this is Evil Rey, and that is her name. There's nothing here, but what is Evil Rey's goal? Evil Rey corrupts the husky man into becoming the Tiger God.
Oh. Look at that! Look at that outfit.
The Tiger God is now no longer friends with Palpatine, and Palpatine's very upset. So we move to see the Death Star 2 being constructed, and Evil Rey was taking a nice beach break on the sand with her towel and her umbrella, and realizes it's her time to shine. But guess what? When Palpatine was on the Death Star 1, that was actually already a clone. Palpatine was cloned a long time ago. We already had the technology. So there were two Palpatines the entire time, and this is why we needed a fifth video game to explain why there were two of them, because one of them died in the first game on the NES. So now you've got this whole situation where there's two of them, right? Two Palpatines. One of them followed the movie timeline we know. One of them took a break on a planet with a husky man that then got corrupted by evil. So what eventually happens? Rey's mother and Palpatine, of course Rey's mother being Palpatine's daughter, fight. And then guess what? We're left in a fade to black as Palpatine number 2 dies as the Death Star 2 explodes, this Palpatine obviously defeats Evil Rey and becomes the Palpatine we see, but he's heavily scarred, and that's why he's all hooked up to machinery in Rise of Skywalker. Then the timeline is concluded, I'm Rey.
Good.
Cool.
I really like the Tiger God's lingerie.
Oh yeah, of course.
Very stylish.
Of course it is. Look,
Got a little Willem Dafoe down there.
And
when someone asks you to portray them in art that shows their inner tiger, this is what happens.
And you have a very interesting collage of different art styles going on. You have someone who, he seems to have more, full features, and then when you first show, Evil Rey, it's a stick figure, and so you're always keeping us guessing as to what kind of.
And you see, I messed with some charcoal here, some different formats,
Mhm.
mixed it with regular lines.
Right.
Two types of stick figure.
There's a lot of
advanced art.
variety. There's a lot of variety here.
And of course, the words are terrible because everything was drawn with my mouse.
Of course. I think that goes for all of us.
That's how it has to be.
said.
All right. So with that, who wants to go ahead and cue theirs up next?
I'll go. Why not?
Should we go in the order of how we lost, I guess?
Maybe.
Does anyone? I think
Listen,
Brett
I'll
has
go.
stated he has things
All right.
to show,
Have
so we're gonna
things.
leave Brett to last.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Let's
I'm
see
sorry.
If I remember. So if I hit present now, is that gonna
Yep.
is it gonna ask me for like a specific?
Don't worry, it's not. I'm not showing the screen until it's up, so you don't have to worry about seeing anything.
Okay, cool.
So I hope that's adequately set your expectations of the quality level we're looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Don't look. Don't look.
Not looking.
All right, here we go. I set a blank slide first because I have a bit of a preamble actually. So
Okay.
An
So
opening
here's the
text
thing.
crawl, would you say?
So here's the thing. Oftentimes, I take a project and I overthink it, right? Sometimes I shoot for the stars when I really don't have the time. So I really got into writing this story. It was a story, the more it started off as a joke, obviously, as most things do on this podcast. But the more I was writing it, the more I realized that this is a story that needs to be told. This is a story that should be canonized. And so
Mhm.
this isn't just for a fun little, May 4th gag. Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, I am talking directly to you right now.
This is a call out.
Listen, Star Wars is a bit of a mess, and I'm here to get you out of that mess. Because I have the perfect TV show to help you bridge the gap between the original trilogy and the
Of
sequels.
course.
And it's called The Book of Palpy and Boo Boo.
Oh my.
Excellent.
This is a TV show that I think would really turn your Star Wars franchise around. And it, of course, starts with the destruction of the second Death Star. Because here's the thing. As we all know, the second Death Star was not finished. It was only about 50% complete, even just physically. And so what happened was most people assume the Palpatine, died when he fell down that hole, and then there's this giant explosion. Wrong.
Mhm.
As I said, this is an unfinished Death Star. He was actually sent into hyperspace because of the
Of course.
faulty hyperdrive within, because it wasn't finished yet.
Mhm.
And he lands on a planet called Selos, where, as was set up in The Last Jedi, Jedi and Sith can just fly through space, and they're totally fine.
Of course.
So
Mhm.
he flies near this planet, and he decides to make contact, and he's like, I have survived. Now here's the thing about Selos. One of the many, many creatures that live on this planet are called Jupas. They're these giant, giant worms, and they are terrifying, and they are huge. This is Boo Boo, son of Bongo.
My God.
Mhm.
Bongo, as you may remember, was the giant, giant Jupa that was featured in an episode of Star Wars Rebels. This is his son. He is out for revenge. He needs to find the clones and the Jedi that killed his father. And so Palpatine and Boo Boo make a deal. Palpatine is like, if you help me, if you scratch my back, I scratch yours. This is his whole thing. I'm going to help you find who killed your parents, and you're going to help me take back the galaxy. And so from the wreckage of 2 destroyed AT-ATs and an AT-TE that killed Boo Boo's father, they construct a giant technology-infused Jupa in which they fly around the galaxy,
Of course.
looking for Rey, looking for any remnants of the Empire so that he could get his reign reinstated. But time waits for no man, no Jedi, no Sith. And so eventually he crash lands on Exegol, where Jupa sadly passes away, and he uses the rest of the technology to make sure he's still alive, and then decides to wait for Rey, where he wants to kill her, and then he wants Rey to kill him, and then none of it makes any sense.
And it really is just a heartwarming story about a man and his Drupa.
It is.
Man,
I really think Palpy and Boo Boo. I think it's a story that needs to be told. I think it's heartwarming. I think it's charming.
It's about family.
It's about
that's what's
it's
important.
about family, and that's what's so special about it.
Of course. Wonderful story. Alex, are you ready to share your masterpiece?
Oh God. Here I go, I guess. Let's go with a tab, I believe.
That's probably the easiest choice if you are sharing a Google
I
tab.
also was gonna have a bit where I hired an artist to do all the art for me, but then I just forgot it in my opening monologue for some
Well,
reason.
it's not letting me share anything outside this, and for some reason this keeps opening up on Microsoft Edge instead of Chrome. A window, mayhaps? There we go. Okay. Share. Sharing the window. I want to make sure. Okay. There we go. Slideshow mode.
Excellent.
Okay. So we open up at the beginning of when Palpatine is thrown down whatever mysterious tube that was by Darth Vader in his
The ominous
triumphant
shaft.
rebellion. Yeah, the ominous shaft. So here we have Palpatine. He's like, "Urgh, urgh." He can feel he's getting closer to space. He's running out of oxygen, and he can't survive off in the vacuum of space because that's a stupid idea that shouldn't have been canonized.
I take
Good.
offense to that.
You shouldn't. The people who were in charge of that movie should.
Oh.
So here we have. He's falling down the chute. Oh no! But my dark prince, it is time. He says to himself, but also to a mysterious other party that is off screen somewhere. And then he starts to fade away as he exits the tube, and he resigns himself to death temporarily. Here we see him popping out of the Death Star chute into the
course.
vacuum of space.
The trio of tubes shooting him out.
Yeah, there could be multiple tubes shooting multiple people out. We don't know how many different
People were thrown down
stories
tubes.
were going on in the Star Destroyer. Wait.
The Death Star.
Death Star, yeah. I keep confusing it. And then here we have it. Hide that. Death Star exploding in the distance. Palpatine landing
Alex,
with a
stream
crunch.
broke.
You have stopped your stream.
You've
Oh
stopped.
no! Oh no! Oh god, how do I get it back? A window.
You've hit the no button.
Oh crap! Of course I have.
No, this is just all part of the presentation.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's
All
just
part
it,
of the plan.
it represents
piecework.
Palpatine's feelings being lost as he
Fractured mind.
slides through the chute, the ominous shaft.
There we go. Okay, it's back. I hope. There we
Yep,
go.
Yes, it is.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, landing on some random asteroid
Mhm.
with a lot of cracking and crunching of the bones that are now probably turned into powder.
Of course.
But we see a ship approaching in the distance. What looks to be the silhouette of an Imperial shuttle. And we hear inside the ship, "There he is, sir. We found the body." And a mysterious voice.
Of course.
"Good." We go. The ship has landed on the asteroid, or is about to land. The door on the back starts to open up, and we see the mysterious silhouette
The mysterious silhouette.
of a certain Sith Lord.
Who could it be?
I wonder whose
says,
silhouette that could
"Palpatine."
possibly be.
It is time. We have
my
Darth
God.
Jar Jar, who in a fourth wall breaking moment says to Palpatine's corpse, "Abrams has a plans for you." Holding
Excellent.
his lightsaber aloft, giving the scene ominous lighting.
That's
And
awesome.
then we come to the method of which Palpatine is brought back to life. A juicy kiss.
Oh my god, I love the blush lines and everything.
I'm gonna throw up. I'm
my
gonna
God.
throw up.
Just leave this up for a moment, Alex, as I
No,
capture
no.
the thumbnail of this video.
No, don't have to be the thumbnail. You have to save it. You have to save it.
No, this is good. This is good. This is
This is
good.
perfect, no context thumbnail. There's no
Oh my
words.
God.
Now, it was incredibly vital to this process that they had to French and swap some saliva.
Of
That's how
course,
the cloning process works.
As you can see here, Darth Jar Jar was transferring some of his life energy into the body of Palpatine.
God.
obviously. And of course,
At which
it
point-
does involve Palpatine's face kind of turning into a snout.
It's literally like mushing
love-
apart.
I love the
Oh, absolutely.
one strand of hair that just pops up.
Yep.
It's perfect.
And then we come to the scene that we cut to black after. Palpatine's eyes opening up.
Still
has
got saliva
returned.
dripping.
Oh,
My
it's
God.
truly, truly beautiful.
So what you're saying is true love brought Palpatine back from the dead.
It's
Yes.
true.
Yup.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I dude, like that image on like a thumbnail scale is going to be completely incomprehensible to people who don't know what it is yet. They go, what start with this is like a black void. What the hell?
People are just gonna think we're watching like Star Wars like
Newgrounds.
Yeah,
we're
Newgrounds.
gonna go onto
Renovations.
like DeviantArt and just look up the most like cursed
Perfect.
Star Wars stuff. Oh my
Of
God.
course.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's
live.
really just a beautiful story about true love.
It's
Yeah.
true.
And French
yeah.
kissing.
Yep.
Mhm. All right.
I mean, every story about true
Right.
love obviously needs a Gungan somewhere.
Although I have a question for you. What would French kissing be called in the Star Wars universe? What do you think it would be called?
I mean, if Jar Jar
Loopy
invented it,
Schmorp Glorp.
I obviously 100%. I don't see any way in which that ever isn't what it's called.
Do you see the smiley face?
Yes.
Are we? All right. Do we still
give
see
me
the
just-
smiley face?
Mhm.
All
Give me
right,
just
we
a
are in
moment to get this on the
business
correct
then.
scene again. Brett, it's your time to shine. Take us away.
All right.
Ooh.
Well, we have Rogue One and Han Solo, a Star Wars story. It's time for Palpatine, a Star Wars story.
Of course.
The year is 2019.
Oh.
Now an extremely old, decrepit wrinkle man, Sheev Palpatine has gone from Sith Lord to Chancellor to Emperor, all the way to washed-up celebrity. As the years relentlessly churn forward, so has his heart churned for a return to his former greatness. Having locked himself in his home to become a hermit, He has done nothing but play Peggle 2 on the Xbox Live Arcade since the release of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. As such, his understanding of the modern world may be a bit lacking, but he seems to know a way that he can earn back his old fame. There he is. Sitting in the void.
Excellent.
That's just me
My
playing Halo
life.
Infinite.
Is falling apart around me. One can only listen to Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt so many times before it becomes comedic. Why must it be so difficult to find a job in this economy? I'm practically a household name. Things like Starbucks and Barnes & Noble should be scrambling to hire me in an instant due to my past experience with customer service. Is this ableism in action? Is this wonderful world so cold as to shun a kind old man such as myself from all of society? Well, in college they did always say to make as many friends as possible so you could have connections in times like these. I haven't rung anyone in so long, I wonder if my old pals will even find it in their hearts to pick up. If
What
I
a
know one man
wonderful-
who will certainly pick up in a dire situation like this, it is him.
Oh man, that's a blast from the past.
Hello! Who is this? Oh, hello, Master Yoda. It's been so long. How have you been since we last partied? Palpatine! Call me at such a late hour, you must not. Yoda, won't you help an old friend out? Don't you remember all the wacky times we had back at university? Palpatine, 3 a.m. it is. You see, Yoda, I've been in a slump for a few years. Like, when did Revenge of the Sith come out? Done nothing since episode 3, you have. Serious, are you? You shouldn't be so hard on an old pal, little green man. Tired I am, Sheev. A busy day I have tomorrow. Just hear me out, you adorable little bastard. Don't you remember all those wonderful times we had in our third-year dorm? I mean, we're talking some unforgettable stuff, my dude. So many Papa John's chicken nuggies, so many 3 a.m. sandwiches, so many stupid pictures of you hung up in the holes, so much butt chugging. No, what an ass! To hang up so abruptly on an old friend such as I is a betrayal most foul. Somewhere in here there has to be someone who will listen to my plight. This might be the way.
Yes, hello.
George.
Oh, holy cow, Chief Palpatine, is that you calling me on my landline phone at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Oh, please, George, you must listen to my plight. I'm beyond down on my luck and I need some help. Would you happen to be working on another film that needs someone to play an evil and extremely old and wretched emperor and or mastermind? Please, George, you've got to help me.
Well, you see, Palpy, therein lies the rub, because I don't own the legal rights to the property of Star Wars anymore. I sold it to Disney specifically so that Star Wars 1313 wouldn't come out. I don't know, I really didn't like the look of that game. It kind of...
What?
Oh no!
Then my chances of getting my life back together truly are back at zero. I'm sorry for bothering you so late, George.
Wait, Palpatine, don't hang up just yet. I might have an idea.
What? Really?
Yeah, I know a guy. Yeah, he's the guy who's writing the new Star Wars movie that's coming out this holiday season, only in theaters. His name's J.J. Abrams. Apparently, they already finished principal photography and have begun the editing process, but JJ keeps telling me he has no idea what the plot of the movie's gonna be, and he just filmed a bunch of random garbage for the Vine. Now I don't really know what the Vine is, and to be quite frank with you, I forgot what Star Wars is too, which is also why I sold it. But if JJ still doesn't know the plot of his own dang movie, then maybe you can perhaps step in and give him a hand. I think it'd be perfect for you, Paptimus. And then, on the night of the release of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, a miracle happened. Let's go, baby! The Rise of Skywalker sweep! The Rise of Skywalker is not only the greatest film ever made, but also the single greatest idea ever conceived by sentient thought. Claude and Palpatine both received 400 Oscars each for their heartbreaking performances as husband and wife, with a 483% on Rotten Tomatoes. If that isn't a miracle, I don't know what is.
Brett, you've created something truly magnificent.
Well done, sir. Well done.
God.
Magnificent.
Excellent.
Standing ovation.
Magnificent!
Look, I
Oh,
can't
God.
standing ovation or I will be out of frame. How
And
this
it's not me.
works.
Jesus.
Absolutely
Wow.
glorious.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
This is going to be a true fever dream of an episode.
Oh, of course.
But unfortunately,
This
I
is gonna
can
be the
guarantee
one-
you it is all real.
This
Sheev
is gonna be
can
the one
hurt you.
episode that everyone watches out of context of anything else that we do.
God.
Just gotta corner the new market of Star Wars terribly ideated
No, just end there. Star Wars terribly. That's it. That's
Star
it.
Wars terribly ideated things. That's the entire brand now. All right, so after that
just Star Wars.
glorious
Wow. Perfect
set of
voiceover,
presentations,
too. They need to hire you for both roles.
it's time to do the regular Star Wars discussion, which is basically just a couple of us played some Star Wars games. We're going to talk for a few minutes about some games that we didn't get the chance to talk about because they either came out before the podcast started or, you know, we didn't talk about them because they weren't that interesting at the time. So that's the pitch. That's the discussion. Great.
Good.
Let's kick it off with a game that we discussed this a little bit when it came out, but I don't think any of us brought it up again at all because like we brought it up I think the day it released, and then we're like, oh, we played like a couple hours, it was fun. That's Star Wars Squadrons.
Oh, yeah.
We played very little of this game before we talked about it, and then we never spoke about it again.
Yeah.
So
That's
I went
kinda-
back.
It's accurate
Yeah.
to the whole game.
I went back and played a bit, and man, it's a good game, but I think playing Project Wingman in the span between Star Wars Squadrons and experiencing that has raised my expectations for every like story-based flight game,
Yep.
regardless of what they are. And Squadrons, I think, is a fun game that it should absolutely exist. It's not in that tier of Star Wars video games that Battlefront, EA Battlefront 1 kind of solely resides in now. But I do think it's kind of the game that shot me over, and I don't know why that is. I'm curious how, especially Brett, you feel about it, because I know you were pretty positive on Squadrons when it came out, and then from Wyatt, I've heard that you weren't that positive on it later. What happened?
When it came out, I mean, it's just like everyone's excited for a new Star Wars Rogue Squadron adjacent game. You know, it's at least like the heart is still beating within the franchise for some cool, fun starfighter games. And you know, especially when it was first out, like everything about it is new. So it's all like just a flood of new things entering my brain. And it's Star Wars, and they didn't try to do anything stupid with it. So it's pretty much all satisfying to someone who's just going in and absorbing the stuff. Man, that's awesome. You know, is the balance of certain things the best? No. Does it control very good compared to other flight games? No, and it doesn't really give you the option to make the controls more like other arcade flight games, and it just kind of makes things a little weird. But I like this is like the one game where you have like that power diverting thing where you can do the thing they always say, oh, divert power to shields, and it'll make your shields more powerful, but it'll take power away from everything else. I like the last couple times I played it, I just kind of like that stopped feeling like it really made a difference. It just kind of felt like a gimmick because really no matter what, it got to the point, at least in my experience, where you know, with all multiplayer games that come out, it's when they first come out, everyone's just going to be like, oh, what's this? I'm trying new things. I'm not that good at it yet. But after a while, people will start to get very, very, very good at it. And the meta will appear. And it will sometimes not be what the devs intend. And if the devs intended for the Empire to just absolutely sweep every single match that involves getting points for killing things, then by God, why? Because people who learned how to play the TIE fighters really, really well.
Well, it's because you had less to worry about with the TIE fighters, because you didn't have to worry about diverting power to shields, so you always had either full speed or full weapons. And if I recall correctly, the way they compensated for that in the design is TIE fighters had more hull in general than other ships.
I think so, yeah.
But with less of an ability to like repair on the fly because you don't have the shields. But I recall playing that a lot, and I never played it to the point where one-sided stomps were super common, but I think by the time I'd stopped playing the game, we were hitting the point of the people that were still around were people that were really into flight games. And so you couldn't find like a match that was more casual. It was always, okay, we're going to go 100% because this genre is so niche. Which is why I think I had more fun with the single player, just because it's a type of game that I think I love the multiplayer being present. And I really liked the whole take over like an armada of ships coming and like destroy their big capital ship. Super fun mode. Kind of wish it was just with AI. Not players.
I think that was one of the biggest surprises of this entire game, was like how good that single player was, because not only could you play essentially the same story from both perspectives of the Empire and the Rebels, but it had a good amount of variety from level to level. Like the one that always stands out to me is the one where it's using mines, right? So you're in that asteroid field and you have to set up these different like mines everywhere to like set them off later as like a it's been a minute since I've played it, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like a patrol of Empire ships is coming through, and so you have to like set off these mines in order to like damage the patrol. It was really cool. It was like it wasn't just like a normal battle, because not only was it in an asteroid field, but you had these other things that were going on while you were fighting, and it was really, really interesting.
Yeah. I think ultimately, at least for me, I mean, we've talked before about like, oh, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing that games, like in general, seem to be moving at least a little bit in every single way towards like being a service and just constantly like adding things. And I sometimes will be the grumpy old man and be like, oh, just release the whole game and why bother having to add extra stuff later? But I think in this case, this is the kind of game where it's like, oh, so we're gonna get like new maps and all the other like starfighters that aren't here, right? And they were like, oh, sorry, what? You want and then they just kind of like threw the B-wing and the other TIE fighter at the wall, and we're like, all right, that's all we had. So bye. And they didn't really add anything post launch.
I feel like that's more on EA than on the actual developers, because we knew from the start that Squadrons was not going to be a live service game. It was not going to be a living game. It was going to be a game that released in the state it was, that would exist and probably get like a few balance patches and then nothing else. Because if I recall correctly, the B-Wing and I think it was the TIE Interceptor that got added, or TIE Defender,
one of the two. Or something.
Yeah, that when those got added, they were like things that had been in progress but were cut at some point, and they were like, okay, there's enough interest to finish this and give them to people. So yeah, I think Squadrons, I think for being a $40 quote unquote budget release, I don't regret any of the time I've spent with it, and I think for the price it was certainly a good game. But man, I would love to see them take that idea of like space combat where you're dogfighting and you have like this story going on between your factions and put it into a game that is like more high budget and has more development behind it. Especially with something like, if they have some kind of on foot section, even if it's not like combat heavy, but more, instead of like you land and you have like this little visual novel menu of people you can talk to.
Yeah, that's
just like, let me walk around the base. I don't care about doing anything, but let me walk around the base a little bit.
I do wonder how, and the game may not have been made at all, if this situation was the case, but I do wonder how much of this game was affected by the turnout of Battlefront 2, right? Because it's, in a way, it's the exact opposite. Battlefront 2 came out, oh my god, gigantic budget, $60. We're gonna shove it full of microtransactions, and we're gonna have like flight stuff, we're gonna have on foot stuff, we're gonna have vehicles, we're gonna have a story, we're gonna have this crazy multiplayer, we're gonna have everything, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
I think
as we
what
all know.
happened, I would be
And
willing to bet
so-
that Squadrons exists because Battlefront 2 had so many people yelling that it didn't have space combat at the start. Like true space
did.
combat. It had the weird controls, didn't it? It wasn't like the actual space battles, wasn't it? The
It
like
had-
fighter
it had
mode.
Star-
Starfighter is
Control.
still. Yeah, those controls are simple for that, but I honestly prefer them more than Squadrons.
I did
You
too.
might be thinking of the
Really?
original.
I might be thinking of the original.
Because I know they had like weird, like you had to
Well-
do like the only way to dodge was like a button, like you were flying a Banshee or something from Halo, and so there was no.
Well,
real
and you
way to
couldn't like
evade.
do full turns. You had to
Yeah,
limit
that
your
was-
range of motion.
That was the first one.
I'm betting Squadron started development after that pushback that happened
Mhm.
as probably a prototype for a Battlefront mode that never happened, which then got retrofitted into its own game. That's my like head fiction of what actually probably led to the development of that game.
Because I think in my own fiction, I think what happened was it was a project that was already going to be made, and because of how Battlefront 2 turned out, they're like, okay, we're gonna go in the complete opposite direction. We're gonna focus just on, space combat, and we're gonna keep it modestly budgeted, no live service, because that's a taboo term, especially when it comes to EA. We're just gonna go in the
Yeah.
polar opposite. But because they were able to just focus on making the game as good as it can be, it's something that people wanted more from. And so they went in the opposite direction in a bad way. It was kind of like they misread
Yeah.
the tea leaves a little bit.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Yep.
Because if Battlefront 2 had gameplay that didn't feel like I was walking on thumbtacks, then I would have wanted all like the live service things that they were adding, and I probably, because the game's fun enough to play, I would have played it enough to appreciate like the things that they started adding later for free, especially a lot more. But whether it's like whether that's like reactionary or whatever from EA's point of view, I feel like that's definitely what happened and why a lot of people don't really bother with it anymore
Yeah.
because it's just
Yeah.
whether people knew it was going to be live service or not. I feel like that can change to a degree with like you see people reacting to a game that just came out that is going to be a live service and planning that people really like it. So you already did a little bit with the B-wing and stuff. I don't know. It might not have been a waste of time and money to try to add some more, but at the same time, I don't know.
I bet they probably were like the size of the team that we'd have to pull away from other stuff to continue doing live service, and like the impact it would have had on our other projects probably is the big reason it didn't
Yeah, you'd
get
have to
more of
pull
a
away.
push.
So, I mean,
Let's pull
what's
away
Criterion
Battlefield
working on?
42, and that would have been really bad.
Criterion
was-
is working on the next Need for Speed, I believe, right
Okay.
now because they're
So-
typically a racing game developer.
So that's maybe what led to the small team, is because they're working on
yeah,
a franchise that's a little bit more.
yeah, it's just an interesting game. I think because conversation died out relatively quickly about it, that it would be interesting to bring it up again.
Yeah, I
And
forgot
good
about it.
point. It's on Game Pass now, so I wonder.
Ooh.
It's probably got a big player base for May 4th, so I need to go play some more multiplayer at some point because it'd be a fun time to revisit that game a little bit. But
It is, and it is one of those games where, like the people who are playing it now are experts and they know exactly what they're doing, and it's not new player friendly. Like as much
I
as
do
as
wonder
much as
because
we all
the
love-
Game Pass inclusion, I bet, will have changed that a little bit.
that will help. I'd agree with that, but it's an issue a lot of games have. Like we all love Titanfall 2. That kind of had the same issue as well.
You have to be really good at
We're-
aiming to play Titanfall 2 right now because
Yeah.
it is so fast paced that the people that have been playing are really gonna own
Plus,
the room.
the only way you're going to be able to play right now is through like a separate client.
The
and
community
people-
thing.
Yeah,
and
the people that go
people-
through that process are really good.
Yeah.
It's
So-
unfortunate that it's in that, but you have a good, like, well-rounded single player. If you still really want to, if you still really
Alright.
want your Star Wars space game.
So, did anyone else have Star Wars games they want to talk about? I don't want to take over the room the whole time.
I do. Go for it.
Both. I'm glad you gave me the next one because I have a segue because we were talking, their Criterion's making Need for Speed. If I know EA doesn't solely own the Star Wars thing anymore, I hope that doesn't mean that they'll never make another Star Wars game again because they sometimes can be good. Where's our Star Wars Pod Racer new
Yes, please.
Yep.
and I say this because that's what I played. I had not played either because I think there's two of them of the Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer games. But it was on sale on the Xbox One backwards compatibility for like $7 or something because probably it's Star Wars Day.
I will note Star Wars Episode 1 Racer currently $3 on most platforms.
Oh,
Dude, for $3 especially, at any time you see that game below $10, I'd say snag it. And this is from the point of view of someone who has never played it as a kid, but just pretty much dumped an entire afternoon into just doing that because I was like, this is all right. And like 3 hours later, yeah, this is all right. And like 3 more hours later, I was like, all right, this is like kind of sucking up my entire day because it's really fun and it's
Easy to lose
simplicity.
time too.
It's exactly, yeah. The races especially, like, it's interesting because if you see like a longer Mario Kart track, something like Mount Wario from Mario Kart 8, it'll usually like that's pretty much just like a glorified straight line. If there's
Yeah.
3 laps, but it's just like there's no like round back to the beginning. It's just like a longer thing that just goes down. They don't try to make you go through a longer track for all 3 laps or anything like that. Star Wars Pod Racer doesn't care. If one lap takes you 3 minutes, get ready for a 9-minute race. And if you don't place in the top 4, get ready to do it again because that is the thing. And that could be annoying sometimes. But at the same time, it's just like it's so old where the jank is kind of funny.
It's part of the
and
enjoyment.
Exactly, yeah. Like you move at such a blindingly fast speed because there's parts you can buy, and so just for fun, I tried to buy the highest top speed increasing booster as fast as I could to just go like 800 miles an hour or
Without handling
parsecs
her.
or whatever. Yeah, which was terrible, but it's just amazing, just like going like 800 miles an hour and just like one of your side fins clips an invisible wall akin to flying a jet into an antenna in Battlefield 4 and you just erupt in flame. It's amazing. It's so like there's sections where like half the track is flat and then half the track is ramp because there's a lot of like split paths to try to split up the racers so you could take like a faster secret shortcut or something like that. If you aren't exactly on the ramp when it's going up and you're kind of in the middle, at some point, because this is before game design was invented, the space between the ramp and the normal track becomes an invisible wall.
Oh no.
So if you aren't right on the ramp, you just explode. And it's just that happens so many times. It's like
crazy.
a little bit. That is what made me be like, okay, no more of this for now because that just kept happening. But for like a novelty, like if you just want to play it like every year for Star Wars Day or something, and you see it for like $5 or $3 or whatever, it's just so much dumb fun. You get to play as every single dumb like unnamed dropped pod racer from Episode 1. They all look absolutely horrible because it's N64 graphics and they're made out of like triangles. You could play as Ben Quadraneros. You could play as the little blue crazy frog creature that goes. You could play as the guy that goes rawr and then explodes. You could play as all the horrible looking creatures you want. You can customize their pod racers with reckless abandon. And then the only downside, like actually that I could think of, is that it just kind of plays the same like John Williams song over and over again. So I turned the music off and I just started listening to Eurobeat really, really loudly.
Yeah,
and
listen to the F-Zero soundtrack.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll have a good time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a bunch of dumb fun. If you're ever on the fence of it, I'd say pick it up because it's pretty good.
I need to go back and play it because I have I played it way back when it came out when I was a small child, and very good times were had. So I'm sure I would enjoy revisiting it on a modern platform.
Oh, totally.
It probably runs a lot better than it used to, I would assume. All right.
If you can get it to run.
I mean, they just put it out on a bunch of stuff, so I'm sure getting it to run is probably not a challenge anymore.
I will, at least on the Xbox One, the frame rate is solid, but I think the render distance might be even worse than the worst render distance I've ever seen in my life. The
wait.
ground outside the track will sometimes just disappear, and
Excellent.
you'll see where the skybox ends before the mountains in the in the background load. It's really awesome.
We're talking worse than Superman 64. Well, because that had fog to obscure it.
There's no fog.
Yeah, Pod Racer was also an N64 game.
Yeah.
I think there's a port on Switch, so I don't know if the Switch
there is.
port fares better than
maybe
Xbox, backwards compatibility. But, I had quite a journey trying to get some older Star Wars games to run on my computer. If we're changing subjects, by the way, I don't want to.
If Brett's done, unless Brett feels the intense burning desire to make Wyatt not continue talking.
I need to talk about Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer for the next 45 minutes, and no one can stop me.
Oh,
no one.
Should I go take a nap then? No, I'm just
if you want.
So I've had quite the journey trying to get some of these Star Wars games to run. I think I was telling Ryan about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I can't go for a whole month without having weird technical problems trying to play video games. That's just not how.
Not possible.
It's not possible. So the first one, I want to do a lot of the Dark Forces / Jedi Knight stuff because it's not something I have a lot of familiarity with. It's been sitting in my Steam library forever, and I was like, this is the time. So I booted up the first Dark Forces, and it is a very good, old-fashioned, Doom 1 style shooter. It's very
surprisingly good voice acting.
Yeah. It sounds great. I was about to say it looks great. The problem that I have, this is more of a me problem than I think an issue with the game. Shooters like those, way back in the day, they have no anti-aliasing to speak of whatsoever, and it creates this very noisy, staticky look while you're playing that hurts my eyes a lot.
It's just the resolution is limited to 140 something.
Yeah. And that's not the game's fault. It's old. I'm not criticizing the game for it, but it really hurt, especially with a game like that where you got to be quick. You got to, finger on the trigger at all times because it can really kick your ass out of nowhere.
Yeah. So Wyatt, I also played Dark Forces as a game to talk about, and I had the same but different experience with it. I've played probably more Dark Forces than you have, I would bet. So I'm getting pretty far, and I'm probably close to finishing it. So my thing with it is I don't mind the low resolution when I'm playing the level itself and shooting things. I think it is still charming to me in a way. What I don't like is when you have to interact with things around the map, and there is no discernible way to tell what is and is not interactable, because the resolution far away is super low. So you have to face hug every wall looking for glowing bits that look like they might be interactable. Sometimes they're just part of the map. Sometimes they're not interactable at all. But
old FPS feels, man.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah. And another thing that's kind of part of that era of shooters too is it's a small thing because not knowing what to interact with is very frustrating. This one's minorly frustrating, but comes up a lot. Is you have to be really specific about when you're picking up ammo and stuff. You have to be right over it, which is a very small thing, but it can kind of add up over time and get kind of annoying.
Especially because the default sensitivity for movement is very high, so it's easy to overshoot if you're not going in a straight line to it.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I had a lot of fun with the 3 levels that I had. It's just it is charming, like you said, that kind of that era of shooters is charming. It doesn't. I felt you when you get really tired and your eyes get kind of scratchy and dry. It was kind of it was getting like that after a while.
Mhm.
But then I was like, okay, so I'll just move on to Dark Forces 2. And I also had just weird technical problems getting that one to work. So I just booted up the game. I didn't want to mess with the settings at all. And half the screen was just black, and the other half had like inverted colors, and I could only see about half the screen.
The wyating, yeah.
Yeah. And also, for whatever reason, by default, the look up and down controls are inverted. Not for a vehicle, on foot. I don't know why.
This is really common in a lot of games from that era.
Okay, but
I'm not defending it. I'm just saying that this is
how it
not a
was.
problem
Not a
unique to this
fan.
game.
So I had to look up online. I had to tweak all sorts of settings and stuff, and eventually I got it to work. The problem is trying to run it at a resolution above like 600p or whatever.
Yeah.
You get that weird like, half of your screen just doesn't show up and the other half is like inverted colors. The problem is if you just run it normally at like a really low resolution, it's really stretched out, so it's like you can barely see. You're supposed to be able to see like your hand and like the gun that your hand's holding and stuff, but it's like barely off screen, so you can barely see like what you're using, which is kind of frustrating depending on the gun. So like the smaller pistol you start with, you can barely see it, and then like the E11 blaster is a little bit easier because it's a longer weapon. It was very frustrating to like it took a long time and a lot of restarts to get it to actually work properly, which was frustrating. And then when I started playing it, it was really cool because first of all, it has these absolutely adorable FMV cutscenes that I love, and they were amazing.
A lost art, truly.
Yeah, I kind of wish they come back
Miss
at some
them.
point. 'Cause they're so bad and charming, and I love them. But the game itself had some really fun level design, I think. Mostly linear. It wasn't really like, Doom 1 style where it's very like maze-like. It's mostly linear, but it has a lot of fun little quirks in the level design.
Yeah.
You have enemies like dropping in from like the ceiling fan and stuff like that, or trying to shoot down at you. But yeah,
The level design in a lot of the older Star Wars games is surprisingly good. Even like in the original Dark Forces, I think it's very. It does the labyrinthine design in a way that doesn't feel super confusing most of the time.
Yeah.
Aside from when you're
slow
searching
down
for
the
a switch.
It doesn't slow down the pacing, which sometimes that labyrinthine design can do. And
It stacks things on top of each other really well. It has a lot of verticality compared to like OG Doom, of course, because Doom couldn't have like stacked areas in the original release, but even compared to some of the later Doom levels that did, I think Dark Forces does a good job of it.
Yeah, and I was having a lot of fun with it until I realized when you die, you go back to the beginning of the level. No checkpoints, no 3 lives or respawns, whatever.
And that
back to the beginning of
continued
the level.
until Jedi Academy, essentially.
Yes.
Like, that's in every Star Wars game, even
And
the
you
more
not-
modern ones.
Can you not like Doom Engine like auto or quick save in the console at all, or you just
I have
there's
no
like no way
idea.
to quick save?
I have no idea. I didn't know.
Which
that.
one did you find it a problem with, Wyatt?
Mostly it was just Dark Forces 2 where I first noticed it, and I was like, okay.
I haven't started playing Dark Forces 2, so I don't know if Dark Forces 2 is also DOSBox, but if it is, there is a way to do it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I couldn't tell you how because I've never done.
Right. And there are some people that really like that because it adds a lot of urgency to to combat and stuff. I personally find it aggravating as hell, and I don't find it to be like a proper like incentive or a proper like penalty. I just find it very annoying because like I was this close to finishing like the 3rd level, and then I was supposed to make a jump and I missed. Full health, like full ammo and everything. I missed and I fell down this pit, so I had to start the whole level over again.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, screw this. Like some people like that. I don't. It's not my thing. So I put that down, And then I finally settled on Republic Commando. And Republic Commando is awesome. It hasn't dated perfectly. It has when I say linear level design, I mean like it is a tunnel. It is a corridor shooter. But I think it makes up for it with the amount of options that they
Squad
give
mate
you.
commands and whatnot are, make it feel a lot more natural than some other corridor shooters from the same era.
It is amazing to me that this game that came out in like early 2000s, I want to say like 2004, something like that, has so much better AI than what we have today. It's crazy.
Yep.
So many awesome little touches. Like perfect example, if your squad mates are in front of you and you're shooting at something, they will duck down and like they'll like crouch walk so that you can shoot over them so that they're not getting in your way. Just awesome little touches like that. And oh, it's so cool because it's like, okay, I want you to get like we got to take out that turret, and then I want someone to like get that turret, and then we want to blow up these like crates so we can move in and get like some of the ammo and like get on another turret and stuff like that. And it just there's so many options that you can do within a single fight, and it's so much fun. And like the little like hand gestures you do when you're controlling your guys around for different commands and stuff. Oh, it's so great. It's so much fun. And a lot of the like game feel surprisingly, and just the design in general surprisingly holds up really, really well. Like there's a lot of good like kickback and sound design for the weapons. There's there's a lot of great chatter between the squad that gives them not the most like unique personalities in the world, but it gives them a personality, which at the time is something that clones didn't have because the show wasn't out at the time, which was really what cemented the like clone trooper personality. And so this was the first time I feel like these clones were given any type of character, and it was sorely needed back in the day.
I have to wonder why, because you mention and I would agree with you that the AI in not only Republic Commando but a lot of older games, whether it's like actual like programming or just like little touches, like how like the fear AI will like talk about like, oh, he's behind the crate in the back corner of the room or whatever. Because people always ask, where is the new Republic Commando game? I want a new Republic Commando game. Do you really want to play Halo 5 again? Do people really want to play Halo 5 again? Like, I just wonder how would that be handled? Obviously there isn't an answer because this is not real. It's not a game that exists.
But I do wonder if like Halo 5 entirely divested from Halo, not a Halo game anymore. Throw the Star Wars coat of paint on, set it in the Clone Wars era. You're playing clones and you're hunting down like a rogue clone or something. Does that game fare better with just the same mechanics, same gameplay feel?
No.
I can't tell you because I haven't played Halo 5 because I don't have anything to play it on. But I wonder.
Here's the other thing too, and I've pointed this out before.
Yeah.
One of the designers that worked on the squad commands and stuff worked on Halo 5, which is shocking when you compare the two and how well those two turned out. Here's the thing though. One thing that Halo 5 was missing in terms of its squad commands that Republic Commando has is just more options, right? So in Halo 5, it's like, okay, pick up this weapon, go to this turret, kill this person, right? That was kind of it. In Republic Commando, there's a lot more. There's a whole range of like whole squad commands and not just for the individual squad mate, right? It's like, okay.
It's a lot more equivalent to like Mountain Blade than it is.
Yeah. It's like
most FPS
formations.
games.
It's more of like a streamlined Ghost Recon in a way, because Ghost Recon also, or am I thinking of the right Tom Clancy?
You're thinking of Ghost Recon, yeah.
Right. Okay.
The modern Ghost Recons. The older one, I don't remember if it had it, but I played a bit of Wildlands recently, and it does have a lot of those squad mechanics.
I think some of the older ones had it too, where it was a lot of like slow, taking your time, like setting up your squads in the right spot and everything. And this is a more
because most of my older Ghost Recon experience or Tom Clancy game is with Rainbow Six was always my game, which I don't recall having a lot of squad mechanics. I think it was mostly multiplayer focused in terms of like you group up to take down the terrorists and whatnot.
Or it might have been Rainbow Six. Like the original Rainbow Six had a lot of like squad command commands and that kind of thing.
I would say there is an entire era of games from Republic Commando's time. SWAT is a franchise that doesn't get made anymore, but SWAT 4 still is one of the best like tactical shooters that exists, where essentially your goal is to like command your squad to clear out a building of people in a way that it causes the least amount of collateral damage, right? Because you're playing a SWAT team, and so your goal is to like actually clear it out, and that's the closest thing that I think nails the experience of Republic Commando. But those games are obviously a lot more real and very you don't have the layer of separation from reality that you have with Star Wars that I think adds a lot to it, where I'm not suddenly confronting the reality of what it's like to take down a drug operation. I would much rather confront the reality of what it's like to be clones attempting
You don't
a
want to
cool
buy any
mission.
death sticks? You don't want to buy any death sticks?
But I do think part of the problem is I feel like the bad AI in Halo 5 could have been remedied if you had a little bit more control over them. Because you had less options than you did in Republic Commando, and I feel like if you had the same like suite of options, I feel like that would have made things a lot easier. Because again, you have commands that command the whole squad. So it's like, okay, I want you to defend this area specifically. And then they would go to that area and they try and find the best cover from wherever the enemy was coming from. It's like, I want you guys to form up on me, like take offensive formation. And it just had more options. And I feel like you could go back. It could be made today with much better AI, because I also think the problem is with Halo 5, it was a feature that was like tacked on.
I totally felt like that, yeah.
Yeah. Even if it wasn't, that's how it felt. It was like, okay, squad mechanics. Let's get the guy from Republic Commando to do like 3 weeks worth of work or something.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll be like mashing a command and they'll just be sitting there.
Because here's the thing too, even within 343, their AI has improved. I would say like the Marine AI in Halo Infinite, and we had a long conversation about this, but I think we can all agree their AI is better there than it was in 5, because they would make a lot of, even if it was kind of silly, it's like, oh, they knew kind of like what weapons to pick up for the right situation, or like if you gave them a crappy weapon.
Yeah, outside of an actual firefight, they were a lot smarter, I think.
But still, I think it could be remade today. I think things that I would want for a sequel is like a little bit wider level design, because I'm literally talking sometimes like you're going down like a
I mean, just imagine Wyatt. We literally right now they've been producing the Bad Batch. Perfect squad.
Exactly. I think
for
we've
a
talked
Republic
about that
Commando
exact
type
thing
game.
a couple times. Like
Yeah, we've mentioned it once or twice, but I'm like, that would be, you have the IP, you're currently producing it. It's a thing that like, this makes perfect sense. You could use the Clone Wars art style, which is presumably a lot cheaper to do than the realistic graphics you would need from any other thing. So just go for it. Like, just make a Bad Batch game.
You have a squad with distinct personalities and distinct roles that
with specialties and. Yeah.
Because the only thing I think was missing from the squad commands, and this was probably done so that you weren't relying on them too much, is that in the beginning they're like, oh, okay, you have like your sniper guy, you have your this guy that does this thing, but you can order anyone to like hack a console, you can order anyone to take cover, I feel like with more modern tech, I think we could make AI that can be more specific.
And I actually will bring up, I do think we have a game that is kind of nailing that squad successor. Metal Gear Solid 5 has near perfect buddies. The only like squad tactics limitation is you can only have one at a time, which is does limit your options in a way that I think
that's what makes it.
That's what makes it good in Metal Gear.
Right.
Is you have to kind of choose how you're going to approach a mission at the start. But imagine like in a world where you could have D-Dog, your sniper, and like your robot thing at the same time.
Oh,
would that form like a really cool squad tactics shooter? Probably. It'd have to be designed very differently, but I think you can just take those mechanics 1-to-1 and convert them and just build levels around them, and I think you'd end up with a really convincing squad tactics thing. All right.
I will say 5.5 bring the nukes back.
I do want to say one thing before we move on, because there was one issue that kept cropping up every now and then. They did a little bit in the beginning, and then there was a whole like not level, but there was a whole sequence where maybe like 2/3 of that entire um level was like just you on your own, and you were trying to reconnect with your squad, which is interesting. And I like that idea of like, okay, here's how nice it is with your squad, here's what it's like without them and how much harder it is. But it was too long because the game gets a lot more boring. If you don't have
I
a squad to
kinda- yeah.
command, it just becomes another third
Generic first-person
another
shooter 27.
Mhm.
it's nice to have for a little bit to show how nice it is to have your squad, but it went on for far too long, and they've done that a couple times, and I'm not a huge fan of it. Do it once, maybe twice, but that's it.
Yeah, don't keep doing it. All right. Alex, unlike us, you are not incredibly addicted to Star Wars games as a franchise, but what you are addicted to
Lucky you.
is Lego sets.
Yes.
Oh boy.
I got every Lego Star Wars set that I own, which now that I'm looking at a list of them, feels like way too many. But also not enough at the same time.
Of course.
As it goes.
How
Um,
Legos work.
and I've ranked them. But me saying the
Oh.
entire list is going to get very long and very boring. So I'm going to give you my top 3 and bottom 3.
Good. That's a good pick list.
Yeah.
Good way to do it.
And I'll start with the worst one.
Okay.
And that is from the Clone Wars era of the Legos, set number 7752, Count Dooku's Solar Sailor.
I had this thing, Alex.
I did too.
And I'm going to tell you why it's the worst out of
Mhm.
all the sets that I own, because I love the design of it. There's far, far too many pieces that stick out way too far and are connected with one tiny little hinge.
I also
Really
remember it
break off.
collapsing constantly.
It collapses, everything snaps off of it way too easily. And also, most of the reasons why these are ranked good or bad have to do with other people who have interacted with the Legos. Someone took one of the fins off of it and tried to stab me
Oh,
when I was a child.
That's true Sith behavior.
True degeneracy.
Starting off young.
That's just standard Star Wars fan behavior.
Mhm.
But my God, was the design of that cool? I always like those dome windowed spaceships type thing.
Mhm.
Next to last, pretty much the same problem, but there were no sharp parts for people to try to stab me with. The Droid Tri Fighter, number 8086.
Now
with
is this
the 3
the
fins.
is this the episode 3 just came out Droid Tri Fighter, or is this the much later, more recent Droid Tri Fighter?
Let's see.
I'm asking
I-
because I had both, and I
I
need
had
to
the
know which
episode
one you're
3
talking
one.
about. Yeah.
I believe it's episode 3.
Is it absolutely covered in stickers that peel and leave behind paper marks on all of the pieces that they were on? Because if so, that is the episode 3 version.
I have to say, it seems like you're speaking from experience here.
It's I don't think paper marks. There's only a couple on some of the fin. There's the 6 pieces of the pie type thing.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any of these sets with you right now to show off?
I do not, because
Or-
most of them are in pieces.
Oh,
That is what
no!
happens to Star Wars sets.
Yeah.
Lego sets in general after a
Especially-
while.
Especially the ones in the later one. And my favorite one, I cannot carry because it is far too heavy and
Too
cumbersome,
big.
unfortunately. Which is
Mhm.
I should have ranked it lower because of how hard it is to take around, but also it's a set piece, really.
Mhm.
Where's the list? There we go. Third last one, and this one is because I'm stupid and step on Legos a lot.
Mhm.
So
I see you haven't
even
become
though
immune yet.
I'm a big fan of those little like the double sets that usually come together or that don't come together, but then they're later released in the mega packs where it's you know it's you get the droids on one side, you have their little
You get like a battle
encampments,
that you
have
can
a
build.
turret, and you have the clones on one side. Yeah. I'm a big fan of those. I got a good couple of those ones going. I got the 300 or 3058 Stap mini droid hovercraft.
Snap.
Stap. And I liked it because of the little transparent stand. And when I separated to go vroom vroom with my mouth noises on it,
You
I
set a
forgot the
landmine for yourself.
Yep.
Other than that, I love it. There's not really good reasons for this one to be on the bottom.
It's Legos. Any reason is a good reason.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was looking through here, and I'm a big fan of Sith ships here.
They look cool.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. Oh my god. I have 2 General Grievous ships on here. 2 different versions of them. Though I think one of them is on the bottom of the best. I have 8095. I put in my notes another General Grievous ship. This one has a little personal station where he has a chair you can sit on. He has a lightsaber rack. He has a attendant droid.
So that must be the bigger one.
They're around the same size, really.
'Cause I remember I had when I was a kid the little one that is like too small to fit the Grievous figure in it.
Oh, the micro set
80
kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's a micro set, but it was like accurately sized to a regular minifigure and not to the Grievous minifigure, which was bigger.
Oh yes, okay. I'm pulling back the images. This one, I do believe. Yeah, it had a really cool cockpit system where you could
Where it slid.
all the Grievous ships had really cool cockpit mechanisms to open them up. But yeah,
Yeah.
this one was his head was scraping on the top a lot. Pretty interesting middle of the road flippy bits. You had the missile that could detach from the bottom center. You had the 2 little compartments on each of the side wings that flipped out for the little peg shooters. You had a fin on the back that could go up or down behind it.
Excellent.
Above that, some type of single pilot quad ring craft that I couldn't find the name of anywhere for some reason, even though it was on the Lego Star Wars database. Oh, okay. Here we go. Now we're getting up towards the top. The 8018 armored assault tank, and I have in my notes Yoda, because this was the first set where I got my Yoda minifigure in.
Oh, is this is probably the Clone Wars set?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the blue tank. It's not the
I never had
brown
this
tank.
one, but I remember wanting it very badly.
I really liked it because there's a nice door in the back of the tank, goes down, creates a ramp. There's a little shuttle inside that you can take out, and there's droid dispenses that way. But when you store the shuttle back in, there's a very satisfying click in place for it keeping them there. So that's getting up there. Right above that one, we have the Ewok attack and speeder. That is set like 7139, and that is the first set that I ever remember getting. I was a huge fan of the speeder scenes in the forest. And just like that shape.
Yeah.
And that got me to why I like riding on my Sparrow so much in Destiny 2. So Star Wars is to blame for that.
Mm.
And then we got up here. We got the General Grievous, the other General Grievous ship, 7656. I believe this is the earlier one.
The OG ship.
I believe so. Yes, it's one of the early ones. I believe based on the Darth Vader head on the box, it's from 2003.
Wow.
The Grievous action figure doesn't
have
have
to be
as many
from
decals on it.
2005 because he wasn't in anything else. He was only in Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith was
he was in the
2003.
Clone Wars that came out before Revenge of the Sith as well, I believe.
The 2D.
Yeah, but I don't think.
But I don't know if his
got
ship
into
appeared in that.
Okay, no, the two different. Yeah, there's 2 different Darth Vader faces. The 2003 one is him facing front. The 2005 one is him with a 3/4 view.
Mhm.
Okay.
I always thought the General Grievous minifigure they couldn't quite get it. It's a little too complicated for a Lego minifigure. But
Yeah.
And it doesn't have as many flippy bits, but it was a lot more stable, and the side wings did not have a tendency of coming off.
It also
Yeah.
wasn't like $80 for a gray ship.
Yeah.
That's a
'Cause the
thing
new
Lego
one
really
is.
likes to do.
Yeah.
There are so many re-releases of Lego ships, and
But
then
it's like
they're
it's like
out of
Gundams. They get
stock.
redesigned relatively
Mhm.
often,
Yeah.
and are generally better, but often increase in price.
Yeah.
All
And,
right,
and
Lego
there's
Star
no one
Wars
there
games
to stop
especially,
them.
though.
here we go into the top 4. Number 4, surprisingly, the Anakin and Obi-Wan battle on Mustafar.
I had that as a kid.
Yeah.
It
That
was
with the press down light up lightsabers.
Yep. That is what
That's-
jump started me um making massive scale battles in my room at the time, just lining up each side and like
Yep.
stop motion going at it. My very own turn-based RPG in my head. Because I'm in you had the little like shuffle sticks to move
yeah,
around with. That
yeah.
was
You could
so
actually move them
fun.
around.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we have the Anakin Obi-Wan battle. The I believe this is also from the Clone Wars era. The Magna Guard Starfighter. This
Yes.
one I viewed as sort similar to the Grievous ships, but with a lot cooler flippy bits. This
Yeah.
is how I've described it. And huge cockpit. They finally got the size right because the Magna Guard is really a cumbersome figure with his broad shoulders and cape
Yeah.
and a staff and how it handles it. But the cockpit, so it's in the front of the ship, unlike the Grievous one, which is in the back. You know, cool, sort of a wiry, big shuttle fuel thingy things on the side. God, I need to bring these down at some point. But the cockpit, there's a lever on the bottom of the ship, I believe, where you flick it, and the cockpit goes both out and up like this at the same time. I love
Gotta get that
double action
motion.
like that. Yeah, very good stuff. And also, Magna Guard minifigure with a double staff that's purple. Can't go wrong with that, really.
Of course.
Limited bits of articulation because of how the cape was solid on the head bit, though.
Capes are always so difficult to do on action figures.
Number 2, we have the set 6212 X-Wing. I'm gonna try to see
classic.
which. I'm gonna try to remember which version of 6212.
Is it the one that comes with Yoda's hut?
This is not the one that comes with Yoda's hut or the one
Okay,
that's in the
so
swamp,
it's-
unfortunately.
It's
6212.
probably Luke's original. Then.
This is. Let's see. Just X-Wing Fighter TM. This is the one that comes with Han, Chewie, Leia, and Luke.
Mm.
Okay, yeah,
And
so it's
R2D2 in the back.
Yeah. So I think it's literally the same one if I remember correctly, because I know these things off the top of my head because there's something wrong with me. It's just the same thing as the one that came with Yoda's hut, just without Yoda's hut. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure they were out at like the
huh.
same time. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I remember really wanting that as a kid, and I got it for my birthday, and I was very happy.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's very fun crank stuff to get the wings to separate.
Yep, I love how they built that in.
That has not been whole for a very long time, unfortunately, and I want to get
Same.
it back together one of these days. But currently, I believe one of the characters I still have set up as riding one of the X-Wing's engines out of falling from the sky, like in
Excellent.
How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Atomic Bomb style.
Every kid's
Um,
favorite movie.
I was a strange child. Oh yeah, and here we go. Number 1, set 6211. They're right after each other. They have 6212 and then 6211. The Star Destroyer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now
Big
this
boy.
wasn't like the biggest or most complicated one. Let's see. 6211. There we go.
I got that shaping right.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
got that point.
Gotta get the
Oh,
look
they really
correct.
did.
Mhm.
Yeah. It had just enough. Like there wasn't like the super complicated cockpit or anything. They had really fun laser articulation bits, like the turrets that could swing around and stuff. It was shaped pretty well. And my God, this thing had rooms on the inside of it that you could go around. This had like the general area where there was the or the semi-general area where there's the docking, and you have the escape pod that you can put characters in, and there is a hole in the bottom that they can shoot out of if you ever have this thing elevated, which I would not recommend.
No.
But God, that's so fun. It came with 2 of those red Imperial guards, which are just so cool design wise. There was this weird sort of like butterfly-esque bit that you had to take off of it first to be able to open up the wings in like a book fashion. That was very fun, though unfortunately, didn't stay together all too often. And then on the inside and the back, you have Vader's incubation chamber. You have a little pedestal for his helmet, and then you also have a room with a Palpatine hologram on it.
Yep.
Presumably, this is before he's been reincarnated by Jar Jar Binks.
Of course.
And then a pretty okay cockpit with lots of control panels up front with room to put a good few minifigures in. And this is the set that I did actually put together after a long time when it had been broken by a friend who came over, said, "Wow, that's cool." Pulled over a bench because it was on the top shelf as I was displaying, and was like, "Yeah, this is my best achievement ever." He pulls over a chair, picks it up limply with 2 of his child-sized hands at the time, and drops it.
Yep. There's always one.
Not
There's
only
always
that,
one best friend that is no longer called that anymore.
Heartbreaking.
Not only that, he drops it on me.
Oh no!
Do you know how it
Environmental
feels to have an Imperial Star Destroyer break on you?
Hey, you
That's
now
horrific.
feel what the Death Star 2 felt in Episode 6. Good job.
You now know what it feels like to get to have what's it called, the whatever maneuver, the what was her name in Last
Holdo?
Jedi? She, like the Holdo maneuver.
Oh God!
Goes right through a bunch of ships. I was about to say Hondo maneuver, but I'm like wrong character.
Better
Oh,
character.
there's also a
Better
there's also
character.
a articulated little arm, not grappling, like a robot arm that goes on a track where you can take the helmet and put it on Darth Vader. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, where it has
Excellent.
little rubber grippies.
Yeah,
All right.
so good.
So after that incredibly wonderful Lego Star Wars rating, that brings us around to the last thing. I don't want to spoil Lego Star Wars because that game is very recent, but that game came out and we didn't talk about it at all. So I just want to give a very brief. We talked about the first level of the game because it was like it came out like 2 days before we did the podcast.
I was almost done when we talked about it.
That's a you problem. But I do want to give an update after finishing that game wholly and doing a bunch of the optional stuff. Very good Lego game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, gonna give just the wholehearted recommendation to anyone who wants a Lego Star Wars game, or just a Star Wars game in general. It's a good one. It's a good one worth picking up.
Outside of online co-op and character customization, I think it's about as much as you could possibly ask for a Lego Star Wars game. It covers pretty much everything you would possibly want covered in a Star Wars game.
Oh,
Yeah,
can we talk about how was the space combat with being able to go into other ships? Was that
it is present? Yeah,
thought it would
it
be?
exists.
It's fine. It's okay.
I think the main way to put it's not seamless. So if you want like No Man's Sky, it's not the same thing. But you do like go take down a ship and then move inside to like do a level inside of the ship to take it over. So it is like a very cool system. It's just not super in depth. So yeah, it's definitely very fun, but it's not like there's no like galaxy at war type thing here that you're like pushing and defending different areas. It's more that like you have a chance whenever you go to certain sectors that those ships will show up for you to deal with. So yeah, it is definitely there though. And a lot of the capital ship interiors are basically just a level from the game put inside of a ship that you find in the free roam. So yeah, it's definitely worth messing around with. And you unlock new missions by buying them and using them as player bases. And like go inside and talk to people inside of it. It's very cool. Alright. So with that, I think we're done with the big Star Wars Day jam.
We did it.
We might still talk about Star Wars stuff a little bit next time, depending on if, because we're recording this before Star Wars Day, so there might be some Star Wars Day shenanigans that go on, and if they do, there will be, if anything interesting happens, that will be put up with the next podcast. But for now, that's the show. We did it. It's time for shoutouts.
I don't even have one.
Wow.
I'll start.
Turns out this is the last time we'll ever be talking about Star Wars.
Star Wars is
It's
not a
It's no
banned
longer a Star
topic.
Wars podcast.
I
I'm
got-
going to see
Oh.
while you do your shoutouts if I can bring one of the sets down as my shout out.
Okay.
Excellent.
I don't want to shout out Boba Fett as a show because it sucks. But what I will shout out is this hilarious detail at the end of the show. They play the Boba Fett theme song one last time at the end of the show, but it's a little bit different because if you've ever heard it before, they just start yelling Boba Fett in the theme where it wasn't originally, and it is the goofiest thing I've ever heard, and it is hilarious, and I love
So
it.
dumb.
It's so dumb that it wraps back around to being really likable in like a really dumb
Yeah.
way.
I know what you mean. Ugh.
It's
I mean,
a
I
fun
have-
thing.
I have a
It's
very uninteresting shout out because it's just like
Go ahead, bore us, Brett.
preaching to the choir. But I mean, like, you know, every so often it's like, man, I haven't played Halo 3 in like a couple months.
Time to play
And
Halo
then you
3
go
again.
play it again, and it's just as good as you remember it being, and there's not a single problem in the whole entire campaign. Wow.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I do skip one level in the entire game. I do skip the Cortana level.
You're a Cortana baby who doesn't know how to get through it.
No, it's not that I don't know how to get through it. I just don't find it very fun. I don't find it super enjoyable.
It's
But-
not that bad.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who also doesn't like fighting the Flood.
Wow. Alex, you look prepared.
I was able to bring a bin down that had 3 sets in it.
Of course.
Just really quickly. This is one of the sets that I could not find the number or the name for at all.
Oh,
This
that
ship.
thing, yeah, Newt Gunray's
Yeah,
little-
like little.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Little
I had that.
blue trusted droid. Always fun crank.
Mhm. I'm
the
expecting you to
inside.
just like toss it when you're done.
Just throw it off.
We got Hydra droid, I believe.
Yep.
Hyena droid
I ain't a droid, yep.
with also very fun spittable things. Very, very hard to get it to stand up properly.
But very cool, of course.
Mhm.
Very
Little
cool.
articulated
Very
neck that I don't want to
cool.
mess with one hand. Oh dear God. And then we got. It's just barely wide enough.
There
he is. There he is. It's the scrapey boy.
Yeah.
Look at
That
those
little
pieces.
condensed figure.
That's
Look at
the
that-
one that was like $60.
Look at that gamer posture.
Yeah,
yeah.
he's got the
Looks like just a miniature Bionicle.
Oh yeah.
It does,
And
yeah.
these wonderful flippy bits though. You got.
Oh yeah, gotta pull those missiles down.
Alex likes his flippy bits.
I love my flippy bits. Why?
It's
I
the
love to play with
tactile
my flippy
feeling.
bits.
Of flipping some bits.
I didn't
And then we
think
got
about how
the,
that would sound until I
Just
said it.
a massive missile that he drops.
Of course. All right.
That's my shout out. Legos are amazing,
Yes.
So
and they're
I
coming
got
up
it.
with biodegradable bricks.
That is always a plus. I've been playing a little JRPG recently called Blue Reflection, the Second
Yes.
Light, which is a very strange game. It's made by the people that make the Atelier games, which are just feel-good little JRPGs where you make potions and other items in a shop, and it's all about doing nice town things and getting your alchemy license. No world-ending threats to contend with. Blue Reflection is that studio's take, Gust, on a magical girl JRPG, and it's really interesting. You would think somebody would have made a good one before, but I think the closest thing that I've ever played before is the like Neptunia games, which are actually just like weird Japanese criticisms of the game industry in JRPG form.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been having a good time with that. There's gonna be some video will come out about Blue Reflection. I've been recording the entire playthrough to compile something to explain the feelings that I'm feeling on that game once I'm done with it. But it's a very interesting one. I think it's definitely filling a very unique space in RPGs that you don't really see a lot of games do. So it's very interesting. I've been having a lot of fun with that. With that, show's over. As always, Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the podcast platform of your choice. Except for this week, because this week's different. It's coming on Thursday, but on Wednesday. Yeah. Next time, it'll be Tuesday.
And then there might also be another like 20-minute episode, depending on how long it takes us to talk about the other thing we're going to talk about after this.
Yeah,
maybe
something along those lines.
Gotta get
Lots
that
of news this week.
possible.